What I always say, 70% is the research. And once you've done the research correctly, then the strategy and the copy almost come up by themselves.
Welcome to Connect to Market. I'm Casey Cheshire. Join us as we learn from marketing leaders who are driving founder-led growth. We're sponsored by Ringmaster, building B2B podcasts and communities to reconnect you with your audience. All right, let's go. All right, so this is going to be a fantastic conversation. We have brought you an expert. We have flown them from Thailand back to the UK, and now we're streaming and we're beaming across the oceans and probably into space and back on satellites to bring you this conversation. I'm really excited to talk to this guy. He's an absolute expert. This is an expert conversation. I know for the Connect to Market community, sometimes we're talking to members, sometimes we're talking to experts. This is like otherworldly experts. So I can't wait to introduce you to him. Well, who is he, Casey? Stop talking. Well, a marketing leader, a thought leader, a positioning powerhouse, a world traveler, and a business accelerator. He is a B2B SaaS messaging strategist, which is great because the majority of the people listening to this pod are in SaaS. Don't worry if you're not, you're still allowed, but a lot of SaaS conversations happening on our monthly roundtables. He's been in the UX side. He also is a podcaster, host of the Message Market Fit. Now, just hearing that, I want to subscribe because I need to get my message market fit. Founder and Chief Conversion Copywriter at the Conversion Alchemy, Chris Silvestri. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Casey, thank you so much for having me, for the amazing introduction. You pumped me up. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I'll be your hype guy, I'll carry that in the boombox and we'll just walk around the convention center. And I'll be like, hey, Chris? Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Yes.
Well, hey, man. So like the idea of conversion, the idea of copywriting, the idea of messaging and all these things swimming around. I can't wait to ask you our first question. But in order to do that, I have to first give you the finger. That is the foam finger, a giant blue foam finger.
Oh.
And I need to ask you, Chris, what is the number one thing that marketers need to do in order to connect to their market?
They probably need to understand their market first. And that's why I always say 70% of my work is research. So understand your market to connect to your market.
See, this is interesting because we talk a lot about the buyers. We talk a lot about technology, AEO, but how cool to even just say, hold on, take a step back. Do you even understand the market? And you as a messaging wizard are not spending most of your time messaging. You spend most of your time researching. Tell me more.
Yeah. So what I always say, 70% is research. And once you've done the research correctly, then the strategy and the copy almost come up by themselves, right? Especially when it comes to writing. Now you can use AI, but obviously if you don't have the context, the foundational data, then you can ask a ChatGPT to write you something, but it's probably going to be crap, right? So start with understanding your market. And by market, that's a kind of a broader term. To me, when I jump into a research project for clients, a messaging project, I always like to divide the field in three areas. So to me, that's the internal research area, which to me is basically speaking with my client's team, which means support, product, founder, marketing, sales, and understand their perspectives, their points of view, their knowledge of their customers, their knowledge of the product. I basically want to become one of them, but at the same time, bring in my outsider perspective to kind of understand, okay, are they aligned? Are they saying the same things? Do they have different opinions, different perspectives? And that's super helpful because I always I have a couple of questions that I ask everyone, same exact questions, even if they're super basic. But then at the end, once I go and analyze all the responses, you can literally see the disconnects, the misalignments, and so on. That's super helpful.
So don't have to give away all the secret sauce, but do you have any favorite questions?
Yeah, so these three foundational questions are the questions that I would ask anyone inside a team. So the first one is, who do you help? Super simple. And the response, the answer, tells you immediately whether or not you understand your audience, because most people, most companies, when they haven't done the proper research, you will see that they basically just jump into telling you, okay, we help these types of companies, but they don't tell you about the people inside the companies that they go and help, right? So the decision-making committee, who's the check signer, who's the influencer, who's the user, who's the manager, right? So when you have people who actually go into the details of the people and their pains and their psychology, it means that they understand them. Otherwise, it's kind of like surface level. The other good question is, what problems do you solve? And when you can answer that, it means that, again, you understand your audience well and you understand how your product fits into their lives and into their situations. Another good question, probably last one that I'm gonna share for now, just because otherwise I can go on for hours. It's I like to ask it to founders when I want to dig out their point of view, their perspective. I like to ask them, what drives you crazy about your industry? And once they give me the answer to that, it literally open up the floodgates to talking about, okay, what are competitors doing that you see as wrong, and how do you solve that? What are customers doing wrong? What are the kind of myths, misconceptions, lies spread out in the industry, and how do you kind of frame them differently or think about them differently? So that's
Wow.
a very good one. Yeah.
Dude, that sounds like a podcast right there.
Yeah.
Those are great questions.
That's maybe why. Yeah, exactly. I could start with those 3 questions.
What kind of weird misalignment have you gotten back when you ask an internal team these questions?
Yeah, I mean, there's misalignment in terms of how much people know, and probably you'll see that when especially for like a sales-led organization, sales knows a lot of stuff that a lot of times product doesn't know, because product focuses more on product development. And so it's very useful to get those perspectives, because then when you have the workshops with everyone in the team and you share those perspectives across them, product also, for example, realizes, okay, wow, if I knew these things that sales knows, then I could probably build a better product, or make it more sticky, right? So there's a lot of these siloed insights that when shared kind of compound. And other things as far as misalignment, yeah, I mean, you see that the point of view of someone in the team that they use maybe when they do like a sales pitch or a presentation is very different from someone else, and they're not aligned on how to build that kind of sales pitch and that strategic narrative. And so that's when things start to kind of not work, because everyone's got their own like different ideas, perspective, and so messaging is not consistent. That message market fit doesn't really work because it's all over the place across different teams and departments.
All right. This is fantastic, man. And for those listening, I'm taking notes over here like crazy. I mean, I always do, but I feel like we have this pretty awesome list nested within a list. So I just want to make sure I heard this right. You were sharing, when you're talking with the internal teams, you had said there's these 3 key questions. Well, technically hours of questions you have, but you mentioned there's 3 key questions. Who do you help? What problems do you solve? Was there one more? I know there was a question for founders.
Yeah, the one was, what drives you crazy about your industry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ask that to everyone, or just the founders?
Mostly to founders, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the third question that I probably ask everyone is, what makes you different, which is all about the differentiators, right? And that,
oh my gosh,
that again is a very good perspective when you ask it to everyone in different teams. You see basically how they think about the product that they're selling, marketing, or building.
Got it. Okay, so who do you help? What problems do you solve? What makes you different? The fodder. And then the bonus round for the founder.
Yeah,
is what drives you crazy about your industry. Dude, that is so powerful. I'm already imagining the different answers even my own team would give about that. I feel like we have a pretty good handle on who we help, but are we aligned on some of those other? Yeah, just even asking good questions stirs the pot.
Yeah. Meet up maybe once and then like try answer those questions and then like look at them together. It was beautiful.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's the internal side.
Yeah.
Should we go to the next definition of market, or should we talk more about the internal side?
I would jump in like in the next area, which is the kind of the external market research that I do, which is basically understanding your audience. To me, like, it's divided in 2 aspects: the prospect, so before buying, and the customer after buying, right? And I divided into those 2 aspects because part of being a good message strategist, good copywriter,
Yeah.
is with the copy and with your messaging, you need to make sure that you map out the transformation from before buying to after buying, so that you basically cover the customer journey with your messaging. And
Wow.
and that's all about understanding the before, during, and after of the buying decisions. And that's where a lot of companies get wrong when they do interviews with their customers or with their users.
Yeah.
They ask a lot of product development questions, like what would you want to see next on a roadmap, or what is not working for you right now, like a lot of those questions. But they never really get into the decision making process, the jobs to be done aspect of their of like why did they actually choose your product in the first place, what other alternatives did they consider before going with you, what drove them to actually look for a solution, what was the kind of the impetus, the trigger, and when they were evaluating you, why did they go with your product, right? So the before, during, and after, and that helps us understand, okay, who are our prospects and who are our customers and how are we speaking to them.
Wow. And these are things you're asking, um, I'm sure, clients, customer list, you're hitting them up. How do you find this out about the prospects?
Prospects, I mean, we can do a couple of things, like if they have a list of contacts that are not customers, we might run a qualitative survey. And that's a good one. A lot of people think the surveys with open-ended questions don't really work, but a lot of times it's surprising the kind of answers and the depth that you get.
Sure.
Another thing that we might do that kind of derives from more of like UX research aspect is running website polls, survey polls on the website. Basically, like it's one of those quick panels that pops up on a page on a website. And depending on the traffic, obviously, the more traffic that you have, the better. You just ask a couple of questions, like 5, 3, 4 questions, typically multiple choice, like what brings you to the page today, or which best describes you, and you offer a set of answers that they can
Yeah.
use, and that tells you a lot about what types of personas they are, what types of or roles, what brings them to the page, like the motivations that they have, the desired outcomes that they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And so that's another way to kind of understand your prospect side. And yeah, another one is probably using AI to dig deep into that, which can probably go into it a bit more after. But yeah, like simulating your customers, that's a very good process for actually understanding them. And now with AI, you can get pretty good directionally accurate responses. I wouldn't say 100% accurate, obviously, but even
Got
if
it.
it's just 60, 70% accurate, it's pretty helpful at the start.
Yeah, totally. I've made a note. We'll definitely tackle that thing once we're
Mm.
done this. This is a great framework, by the way. And for those listening, if you want to see, I'll take a photo of these notes. This is brilliant, Chris. I mean, this is awesome, man. So we got the internal, we got the external. Isn't that everybody? But there's a third. Who's the
Yeah.
magic third?
The third is the actual market, the competition, right? So we want to understand who you're competing with, who you're positioning against, what types of buckets and alternatives. So it doesn't necessarily need to be direct competitors, but also what
Yeah.
other types of solutions or ways of doing what you do are there that customers consider and know about. And so for that, to me, especially when it comes to competitors and to the solutions, I like to deconstruct messaging from other companies' websites. Um, so what I do is I don't go on website and just basically look at what they say in their copy to actually copy and say the same things, which is what a lot of companies unfortunately do. They try to use the
Totally.
same
Yeah,
words
they all
when
do that.
once they become a trend. What I normally do is I have a framework to basically deconstruct copy from a website and understand what the motivations are that they target to attract customers, what
Yeah.
is the value that they promote, what are the kind of anxieties, the objections that they try to address, with what language, what calls to action do they use on across the site. But also I look a lot of on the usability of the site. So for example, what navigation structure do they use, are they including, I don't know, use case pages or persona pages, just so that we have all the intel that we need to first mirror what the industry standards are, just because a big rule in UX is typically, as a base rule, you should do what everybody else does, because that's the kind of the status quo that everybody else is used to, right? So you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but then that's also helpful to understand, okay, how do we then differentiate from this when it comes to messaging, copy, and sometimes the usability of the site. Another thing to understand the market side is looking at customer reviews. So we can go on websites like review websites like G2, Capterra, and literally kind of scrape reviews, analyze them, divide them by themes, understanding, again, basically the same with the same framework: motivations, value, and anxiety. Understand how customers think, what decision-making process they went through when deciding to buy, and what kind of value are they extracting from other products. And also especially the language, the voice of customer that they use, which is super helpful.
Do you like Capterra or G2 better?
G2 is typically has more data available, so I typically normally go there, and then if I don't find something, I go on Capterra.
Wait, say that again. They have a smaller data set?
G2 has more data typically than
More
Capterra.
data. Okay.
Yeah. So I like to
Got it.
rely on that, and I also like the way that they frame the answers, the reviews. They have kind of what did you like, what did you not like, and
Yeah.
why did you decide to buy, or what was the reason you bought, something like that. So it's basically already pre-written in a way that you can easily extract insights from.
Got it. The questions we were just chatting about, and they already have them pre-written.
Yeah, basically.
Oh man, that's so it sounds like if a company hasn't really devoted time to either of these, they should head to G2 first, in your opinion.
Yeah, that's probably the lowest hanging fruit. Like if you want to get
Yeah.
fast insights, the reviews are typically, if you have competitors, are typically always available. So it's useful to
Yeah.
go there and just start looking at those.
But should they push their own reviews to that site? Go G2 first.
As far as credibility, I think lately has a bit lost in credibility, just because a lot of people like are kind of incentivized to leave reviews. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always looked at it more as like a source of research data rather than just the promotion mechanism. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure on that front. Lately, I'm
Fair.
seeing a lot of people kind of being skeptical about using reviews as social proof.
Right, because they probably got a hoodie.
Yeah, maybe yeah.
and you're not telling the people who don't like you to go there.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't hate you enough to seek it out.
Yeah, so that's why it's useful to use them for language specifically that people use, rather
I
than
get
actually
you.
like trusting the overall underlying opinion that they have. Like if they gave 5 stars, okay, but I'm taking it with a grain of salt. What I care about is the decision making process, the alternatives that they consider, the actual language, and the points they are actually
The
hitting.
language.
Yeah.
Could you say that again? Because that's a really interesting concept of what you use G2 for.
Yeah, I'm basically using it to collect voice of customer data and analyze and deconstruct from it the motivations, the value that they are extracting from a product, and the anxieties that they addressed by hiring that product, by buying that product.
That's brilliant. Okay. Great. This was a big aha for me because I've been kind of focused right now and like trying to get some reviews on there. But it's not about, so even when you're shopping, it's not about the number. It's about the goodies that are inside for the research. Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Okay. Hey, you mentioned the differentiation. Before we move on, could we talk more about that? Because I could imagine, even if you ask me, what makes you different from all the other companies that produce podcasts? I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
But like, what goes into that?
We can go through kind of an exercise they do in our positioning framework, in a positioning workshop as well, if you want.
Okay, yeah. Let's
So
do that.
what I normally do is I always tell clients to come up with 3 to 4 different buckets. Each bucket should be, think of it as a kind of a differentiating theme that you offer to clients, right? So what are those 3 to 4 things that you do differently? It doesn't necessarily mean to be that each one has to be completely unique, but the combination of those three
Okay.
makes you different. So what would you say in your case?
Okay. Good question. Because I have three. Okay. So we produce podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So we blend the human side and the AI side more than any other group. Some people are all AI, some people are all human. We're like in that gray area in the middle. We balance it so that we're effective, but we still have heart.
Good. So this is one, right? The human AI. Yeah. Okay.
And then the second thing is we have this connect to market community. This community is like a movement that we've created where it's all about connecting to your market, connecting to your buyer with podcast communities, things like that. So we've created this movement.
Yeah.
So that's unique about us.
Yeah. Third one?
And the third one is we actually power demand gen with a podcast by getting targeted guests to be on your podcast. So they can have great conversations, connect with you, and eventually buy from you.
Yeah. Okay. So the next step was basically frame those into value themes. So what's the value, the outcome for your client or audience? So the first one, the human and AI, what's in it for them with that?
What's in it for them is like compelling content and social compelling messages that are very efficiently executed.
So it's basically efficiency, but still quality. Yeah. Okay. Okay, makes sense. So efficiency, pure quality, basically of final product. The second one, the community, what's in it for them? With the community,
what's in it for them? Great question. Being at like the forefront, right? Like leading the charge, access to the research or access to information before anyone else.
Is it also kind of an opportunity to network the community and spread the word?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the community itself is fantastic. I guess the value there, right, is connection with other senior level marketers and the knowledge sharing that happens on that.
Yeah, learning. Okay, cool.
Okay, right. See, I was thinking in terms of like the company, but you're right. The
value,
the thing itself, value is the connection and learning.
And the third one was the demand gen. What's the value for the demand gen? Obviously, it's more clear.
Demand gen is revenue.
Yeah. Cool. So you basically have like these three value themes. Would you say again that you're probably like one of the few that does these three together well at the same time for clients?
Yeah, I'd say we're the only one that does these three.
Okay, cool. So then the next step is basically decide or kind of find under each one of these, what are the capabilities? Like how are you able to effectively deliver on these? For a SaaS company, these would be the features, right? Or like unique features that enable this value. For you, it could also be different approaches or ways of doing things. I don't know, with AI, you're able to do it because I know your team has expert people that can use AI, or you use specific tools. So right, so have a brainstorm around those and kind of find those unique features and capabilities. This basically gives you your differentiated value themes and how you're able to deliver on those, which is super helpful because these will also become your messaging pillars when it comes to creating your messaging. Then you will have to write copy under each of these specific value themes, right? So these are kind of your hooks that you can also use in your sales pitch, for example. What are the value that you offer? This is kind of like your package that you can use.
Yeah.
And so from there, it's also about understanding what kind of market category. I mean, in your case, it's a bit simpler, but for a SaaS, should they come up with a new category? Should you use an already existing category because their market understands that category well, and so it's a good entry point?
Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, for those listening, they're in SaaS. It sounds like a heavy lift to create your own category, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Is it worth it, or do you have to have like a couple million in the bank from funding to be able to pull it off, or can you just like quietly pull it off?
I would probably say it's not for everyone. the best closest way that you can go about it is still hook on to an existing category, but frame it differently. So like frame your solution in a different way. So rather than saying we are, I know, the fastest tool ever, we are more about how people use the tool in their workflow. So it's kind of is a different way of defining the category. So you can use in the same category, but in a different way. So it's kind of like a framing tool rather than completely different category. So that's something that a lot of companies can do. But yeah, coming up with a completely new category, definitely you need some some funding and some resources, and also a lot of brand equity and presence to be able to make that take off.
That makes total sense. And the idea of it sounds more effective and efficient to just hook on, like you're saying, but have an opinion that this is most important here in this category, as opposed to reinventing the whole thing.
And in that case, I would say that you're more of like a challenger.
Yeah, yeah. Challenger.
And so for each of these like ways of doing it, for a challenger, for example, it's gonna be probably more about using, I don't know, a majority of benefits because you want to explain the different value that you provide. Differentiators is probably going to be the second split, slightly lower. And finally, the features are going to be probably the lower split in your copy because people already know the features. You need to just tell them how you do them differently and the benefits that are in it for them with this different way of doing things that you offer.
Could you say that again? So it was like benefits, then differentiators, then
Yeah,
something else?
so those are, I call them the value stack. So depending on whether you're coming up with a new solution in an established market or existing solution in established market or new market, different category, there's I'd like to split these three called value stack into different percentages, which is
Okay.
one is the benefits, so kind of the value that you provide. The other one is the differentiators. So what are the things that you do differently? And the other one is
Mhm.
the features. So what are the actual technicalities or mechanisms that you offer? And this split of these three elements is basically what we use in our copy then to kind of address that
Got it.
category solution. So are we using more benefits, more features, more differentiators? And that kind of leads the strategy that we'll use.
Do you is and what percentages is it benefits is the biggest one? Is it kind of inverted pyramid or does it change?
It changed slightly. I would say benefits, it's often the bigger one, just because in SaaS especially,
Yeah.
a lot of people talk about features often.
Yeah, everyone hates that, right? Everyone does features.
Yeah, but even though I would say people say like benefits over features, but it's actually depends again on understanding your market, right? Because if your market is highly technical, you still want to anchor some of your copy to specific features that they are specifically looking for. So that terminology, they need to recognize it on the site. And so it's all about also how you present the copy, how people consume the copy on the website.
Right.
I like to think of the UX of copy, the user experience of copy. To me, like copy should be designed almost as if you design a product, and that's why I like to pay a lot of attention on how I do it on the website. So, for example, in a specific section of copy, you might have it's called eyebrow copy. It's basically the name of the feature, right? The second is a headline or crosshead, and then you have a paragraph and then a call to action. So with this way, people get both the benefits, the value, but they also get the name, the feature that they recognized. So they can quickly skim the page, scan through it, and move through some section by section without having to necessarily read all of it.
Wow, what do you call that stack?
This is probably just the messaging hierarchy
Okay.
in UX. Yeah, it's how people should consume and move through the copy. What should be read first, second, third.
Got it. Makes sense. And also, like, newspapers, you don't want to bury the lead. You want to have certain things higher and larger. And
Yeah,
yeah, okay, that makes sense. And it's really important that you did a shout out to the features because I think we like to hop on trends where
yeah,
everyone just says features suck. But to your point, if it's a highly technical audience, you're selling to CTOs and
yeah,
or
exactly.
whoever, and they really want to know features, then maybe you should make those available.
Yeah, 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 it's all about understanding the awareness and sophistication of your market. So what do they know and how much do they know about it, and what words do they use to talk about it?
And I suppose your research finding out, hey, they're shopping based on, you know, bandwidth, throughput, this number, that
Mhm.
number, pi, sigma,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever, right? Like if you find that out, then you should probably lead with that number.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful, man. Dang. All right. So we got the value stack. We're stacking our messaging and UX. We've done our research, the internal, the external, the market, the competition, the differentiation. Are these things all leading up to this messaging market fit?
Message market fit is basically the final output of once you've put together your research, your positioning and messaging strategy, and the final copy, right? So the copy that you write should have message market fit in the sense that you understand your customer, and you can speak in a way that they truly understand, can consume easily, and can also take to other stakeholders inside their company, so that it affects the whole decision making committee, especially in B2B.
Dang. Damn. Sign me up. This is awesome. It's good stuff. I can see now why you say like, if you've done all that research and all that thinking, the messaging will write itself at this, and not
Yeah, yeah.
total, but like pretty close. Like you're having to have, or AI can help you with that too. But
Yeah, I would
um,
say now, like at the end of the process, the other area that takes the longest is the editing now. So AI can produce very good first drafts, and then the hardest part after that is the editing. So how do you make sure that everything sounds exactly like you want it to sound, that addresses all the research that you conducted, but also has and incorporates your brand voice and tone.
I feel like that should go into my differentiator of that balance between AI and human.
Mm,
Yeah, it totally makes sense that, oh, hey, first draft is written, but okay, is it in the right voice? Is it on brand?
yeah.
Does it sound like us? Does it have an M dash in it? Like what's going on?
Yeah, or does it sound like
Um,
ChatGPT?
yeah, does it? Yeah, so that people just completely ignore it. Well, sick. I know you had mentioned this earlier, and I'd love to dive into this with you. The idea of building out personas and
Mm,
building out your buyer into AI.
yeah.
Could you? What are we doing here, and how do we do it?
Yeah, so so I actually started doing this on my own like 2 years ago, just because I was super fascinated when I saw the AI, because I got the idea from prompt engineering, right? In prompt engineering, one of the first rules that they tell you that now everybody knows is you have to give AI a role. Like, who do you want AI to be, or to act like, or to respond you like? And so that gave me the idea, okay, what if instead of giving it a role of someone to just produce output for me, what if I give it a role of one of my customers, right? And I ask it questions on, yeah, to understand my customers better, to evaluate messaging that I produce. And so I literally started creating kind of my own personas in simple LLMs like Gemini, ChatGPT. But the way that I used to do it, which is different from a lot of people, like still do on ChatGPT, that I don't think works a lot. A lot of people just ask it, okay, you are this persona. Use basically the whole knowledge of the internet that you have as a GPT and give me your responses. I don't think this works because it's not super specific and targeted. So I
Mm.
always started with real research. So I conducted my interviews, I did my surveys, I interview my client's team. So from all of this data, I used it then to kind of prepare and build my personas, and that gives you way more accuracy. And so I started building these. Sometimes, like I even built one time, I even built my client's persona. So I was speaking with the client, right? The client at the company. Before submitting some copy to them, I literally built their personas and kind of tested my copy with this AI personas. And it was crazy to see kind of the accuracy responses, which was super helpful because this kind of my client was, they were expert in their field, so they're very opinionated. So I wanted to make sure that kind of the results align both with the research, but also with their opinions, and that was super helpful. And then obviously, like tools improved, changed. Now I would say, yeah, you can still do it with ChatGPT or one of those LLMs, but there are way better tools that are actually purpose built for this. And
Purpose.
the
Yeah.
the beautiful thing about these tools is that they basically incorporate several like different algorithms and processes and procedures that keep into consideration all different types of biases that your persona might have,
Yeah.
or are able to simulate the psychology, the decision making, the speech of a real buyer way better than just you doing it in ChatGPT. And so a couple of platforms that I tested and use are, one is called Ask Rally, and they are very good self-serve platform as well.
You said ask what?
Ask Rally,
Rally.
RALLY.
If they want to sponsor this podcast, they can totally do
Yeah.
that.
So that's one. Another one is called Synthetic Users, and this one is a bit more. The Ask Rally is good for like having chats with your personas and ask them kind of deeper questions, qualitative questions. You can also generate video responses of your personas now. Synthetic Users is more for conducting a bit more like structured research studies. So you prepare a set of interview questions, and then it gives you back those interview answers. And you can do that with simulating 1,000 respondents as well. So you can also get the quantitative or qualitative feedback. So I tested those two. There are a lot of they're popping out every month. I see new ones, which is crazy because like 2 years ago when I was starting out, people were still super skeptical, and now it seems like it's taking hold. So I would definitely consider, I recommend marketers to just jump into it and start playing around, because I think it's gonna be pretty much the future of market research.
Powerful. The idea of having a customer in your pocket there to be able to just, even just to throw a blog at it or throw an email before. Hey, how does this sound to you?
Yeah, or like a LinkedIn post
or LinkedIn post. Yeah, how
Yeah.
does this sound to you? I wonder if you could even. I mean, you could probably test everything against it. How do you like these differentiators? I didn't ask you that, but like, I picked some differentiator. But do you have to test those against people to find out?
I mean, yeah. If you can test them, even better. And you
Okay.
you could probably do them with AI personas. The only thing that I think is still hard for for AI personas to do is product usability questions. So
Yeah.
there's other platforms now that are coming up that actually allow you to use AI agents, to actually use your product or navigate on your website and give you basically usability testing feedback.
Got it.
But still, if you want feedback on buying behavior or decision making from someone who should be your customers, basically you want them to also have tried your product. That's a bit harder to simulate with with AI personas, right? Because you would need someone who fits your psychographic demographic perfectly and also has tried your product to accomplish something of value to them, right? So that's a bit for now. And we'll see in the future what happens, but for now it's a bit hard to simulate.
Damn. Dude, my next question is like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know all these things? Can you take me back in time to like little Chris days? Did you know you're going to be like a thought leader for thought leaders and just schooling the world on how research is how you get it done?
Schooling the nerds on research. When I was little, I was more into drums and playing basketball than anything else, which interestingly, playing drums was basically the way that I got into copywriting. So I was a software engineer before moving to copywriting, and I did it for 10 years in actually industrial automation, which not a lot of people know about. It's basically imagine like robots, programming robots, machines, automatic assembly machines that end up in factories. And I learned a lot about the actual logic, usability, putting myself in other people's shoes because of that, because I had to deal with clients, but also operators who use those machines. And the reason I switched into copywriting was because I wanted to tour more with my band. So I decided, let's start to look online for ways to make money online. And yeah, I stumbled on copywriting, and I was hooked by the psychology behind it, the decision-making aspects and all of that, understanding how people think, what makes them tick. And so, yeah, I started studying on that on the side. And in 2018, I decided to leave my job and went into copywriting full time, and basically brings me to now.
Damn. You just leap for it. That's awesome.
Mm.
Do you still play? You still rocking it out?
Every once in a while, and I don't have a band, like a fixed band now here in the UK since I moved, but yeah, every once in a while I have a band, a couple of friends that ask me to play for them. So yeah, that's fun.
Okay, so for those listening, if they're in the UK listening
Yeah, you play punk rock?
and they play guitar or they're a lead vocalist without a band, they should reach out to you.
Yeah, totally.
My next question for you is a bit of a hypothetical question.
Uh-huh.
If you're ready for this,
Yeah.
you're drummers, you're probably ready for this.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, I may or may not have a time machine over here in New Hampshire. So you come visit, do a trip to Boston,
Yeah.
drive north a little bit, and we use this time machine. It's in the backyard, covered in a tarp, right?
Yeah.
So we use this time machine, and you get to go back in time and meet yourself, and you just turn like 21, like young you. Maybe this was 2 years ago. I don't even know. You look like a young guy, but like, this is back in the day. You get to go meet that young guy. What do you tell him? What kind of advice would you give him?
Oh my God. I would probably tell him to follow my intuition, or his intuition a bit more, because I've always had probably signs that kind of the initial path that I was on wasn't the right one. And if I'd listened to my intuition more, I probably would have been able to speed that up of a couple of 10 years, probably.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I guess looking back, you could see like, oh, there was that sign, or just didn't click the way it's clicking now for you. Where, man, you're on all these podcasts, people are interviewing you, you're helping your clients out, like things are just like in a flow state. So totally get that. Do you think Chris back then would listen to you if you told him that?
That's another thing. It's probably, I don't know if he would have recognized this path as the right one, because I guess every stage of life is different, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
it's kind of the same reason why I never recommend a specific book to anyone, because I know that the stage they are at, that book might not be the right one for them. And so that's always a thing that I think about. Like, it's hard to kind of give recommendations for stuff.
That's an interesting answer, because sometimes we'll ask that question about books people are reading.
Uh,
I usually ask what people are reading, not necessarily recommending. And sometimes they like it or don't like it. But
yeah.
that's interesting. You're right. Like a recommendation, especially in a nonfiction way, you don't know what stage their career or their business is at. And
Probably maybe a better question that I would ask someone when it comes to books is, what books are you rereading? Because I typically find that the books that you read multiple times are the one that at least have a chance to kind of give you one big idea that can change a lot of things.
man, that's powerful. I feel like I need to just auto add that to my show. Do you ask that in your show?
No, I don't.
You should.
Yeah, I might introduce it now.
Chris, what books are you rereading?
Oh, yeah. Currently, I'm actually reading that I have here, which is the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman.
Dang.
It was one of the initial ones that I studied when I was starting copywriting.
It's just full of first principles, and you just go back to the well kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Copywriting, the basics of direct response, but also how to think about buying momentum through the copy, so how people move through the copy and how you actually build that energy and move them through the copy.
Damn. All right.
Super interesting.
Sick.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to get that after we're done talking. I have to go get that guy on Amazon. Damn. That's awesome, man. Well, hey, right away, like after you started delivering this framework, I was like, that sounds like a lot of work, but also so important. So you do this for your clients?
Yeah, totally. The whole research part, the positioning, the messaging, and the copywriting is typically our whole message market fit project.
Who are your ideal clients?
Typically, our growth stage B2B SaaS companies with like 20 to 200 people, Series B, C, who, they typically reach the plateau in growth, and they struggle, and they realize that typically they come to me and they say, we need copy. So that's, if a sign that you have is you think you need better copy, also then think about, are you actually able to speak the same way about what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it? And can you translate that into messaging for your website? Because that tells you, okay, do you have the foundations first before actually writing the copy or not? And so those are typically the clients that come to me. They think they have a copy problem. In reality, it's more of the foundations that they have that we need to kind of fix first, which again starts from understanding their market.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, I'm on Team Chris. Let's go.
Let's
I
go.
need a t-shirt. Now, that's your new band, right? Like your company's your new band.
Yeah.
Hey, how do people reach out and contact you? We have a lot of growth SaaS listening.
Yeah.
How do they reach out?
Yeah, they can find me on my website, conversionalchemy.net, where I have a newsletter, a weekly newsletter that I put out, and on LinkedIn mostly. I'll be there posting probably daily and chatting with people in the DMs.
Hell yeah. All right, we'll link to all of that in the show notes so people can just like click right through.
Cool.
I'd highly recommend folks listening to this. When we post this, I'll try to get a picture of the notes up here. Normally I don't do that, but there's some drawings. I took some drawings here, guys. So
Nice.
hopefully that helps. There's a lot here, and this might not be the book you reread, but this might be the podcast episode you re-listen to. So
I'd love to.
Chris, I just want to thank you so much for coming on here, schooling the whole listeners.
Thanks so much, Casey. It's been awesome.
Dude, and for those listening, if you learned something, I freaking know you did, because I got 2 pages of notes over here, front and back.
Wow.
And
Oh my God.
bring out a room, writing in the sides, drawing lines, keeping track of things. Then share this with someone. 1 person, 3 people, 9,000 would be cool. But even 1 person who needs to hear this, whose messaging is just completely lost in the sauce, get them a link to this episode so they can learn from Chris. And if you've thought that maybe your messaging is flat and if you haven't even given it the time, you need some help with that research, reach out to Chris. I'm probably going to do that. And so, yeah, what a cool project for the new year, or whenever you happen to listen to this episode. Good stuff. And with that, Chris, thank you again, sir.
Thank you, Casey.
All right, everyone. This has been a crazy cool, very exciting episode of the Connect to Market Pod. We will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at connecttomarket.com. Connect to Market is sponsored by Ringmaster, creating podcasts and communities that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth.